Citywide. We're going to head back downtown right now and get an update. That news conference is just starting. Let's listen in.
I'm joined here tonight by Chief Charlie Beck, by Supervisor Mark Ridley-Thomas, by our Police Commissioner, John Mack, and Councilmember Bernard Parks will be joining us as well. We just came from the command post, where I've been this evening, also with the Chief and the Supervisor and the Commissioner. Tonight's events, we have about 350 officers that are deployed out here, 13 arrests that have been made, and I'll let the Chief get a little bit more into detail. But I want to underscore a couple messages tonight. First and foremost, we applaud those who have come and peacefully expressed their opinions here tonight, the overwhelming majority of those community members who came out here. The trial that we saw in Florida has ignited passions, but we have to make sure that it will not ignite the city. And we see a small group that has taken this opportunity to exploit the situation, acts of vandalism, attacks against other community members. The Martin family was very clear that those who sympathize with their plight, the best way to honor their son and their loved one is in a nonviolent manner. People deserve to be able to express their opinions, and we will continue to allow that space to happen. But people also deserve to be safe on their streets and in their cars. I applaud the Los Angeles Police Department. In these situations, they're extremely difficult. And to be able to maintain not only the peace, but to do it in a way that continues to respect people's right to gather and to be able to express their opinions is the core of what their work has been. But we are a better city than what we have seen tonight in the hands of a few people. And we will make sure that the community here in South Los Angeles is safe on its streets, feels secure. The Martin family didn't ask anybody to break car windows. They didn't ask anybody to take little kids' scooters. They didn't ask anybody to attack businesses, and they certainly didn't say to take over traffic in the streets. And here in Los Angeles, we stand for making sure that we can express our opinions. And in the next days with Supervisor Ridley-Thomas, with other political leaders and community leaders, we certainly will be focusing on what we can do to have that necessarily dialogue that brings us together instead of anything like we have seen in isolated incidents tonight that tear us apart. Los Angeles is a great city. We have a great community. And in the toughest times, we show who we are when we come together. And so I want to thank those community members who have been out here expressing their opinions, letting those passions be able to be expressed here in a peaceful manner, but also to our police department who has made sure that tonight this community's safety is restored as well. With that, I'd like to turn to our Chief Charlie Beck to say a few things, then we'll hear from our Supervisor Mark Ridley-Thomas.
Good evening. It was the goal of the Los Angeles Police Department tonight to facilitate the First Amendment rights of people that wanted to peacefully protest. Unfortunately, we were sorely disappointed by the actions of about 150 individuals who decided to break away from the peaceful protest and vandalize and assault individuals upon Crenshaw Boulevard. We deployed over 300 police officers, dozen arrests, multiple incidents of vandalism, several incidents of assault. This will not be allowed to continue. Unfortunately, the rights of the many have been abused by the actions of a few. Because of that, tomorrow the Los Angeles Police Department will have a much stricter posture in the way that we deal with people taking to the streets of Crenshaw Boulevard. That is extremely unfortunate. We want to facilitate First Amendment rights. We want to let people to speak up in a lawful, in a peaceful way to honor the ideas of what they wish to protest. But we cannot allow that activity to infringe on the property rights and the physical safety of the residents of this community. I want to thank the mayor. I want to thank Supervisor Mark Ridley-Thomas. I want to thank my police commissioner, John Mack. I want to thank Councilman, former Chief Bernard Parks, for standing with me. These are reasonable voices that need to be heard in this community. And this community needs to put forward its ideas in a kind of way that can be accepted and push the point forward. So, for tomorrow, parents, don't send your children to protest in and around Crenshaw. Please obey the law. Please obey the lawful directions of Los Angeles police officers. We want this to be a safe event. We want people to get their point across, but we want to keep everybody safe. Thank you.
I'd like to ask our Supervisor, Mark Ridley. Thank you, Chief. I'd like to ask our Supervisor, Mark Ridley-Thomas, to say a few words, and then Councilmember Bernard Parks will share his thoughts as well.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, and to the Chief. 21 years ago, we witnessed what can happen when there's a reaction to a verdict. Similar sentiments are being expressed here in this space, but the response of the Los Angeles Police Department is qualitatively different. It has taken a posture of respecting the constitutional rights of those who choose to peacefully express their point of view, even at the point of protest. That has been acknowledged by the mayor, by the chief of police, but to those who engage in opportunistic endeavors to seek disorderly conduct that leads to any form of violence, I stand today to say a word about nonviolence. It is the most effective way to communicate how to address injustice. And to the extent that we know and believe that, and we honor the tradition of Martin Luther King Jr., may I respectfully ask those who are doing otherwise to obey the instructions or the command of the police department to disperse, not to engage in opportunistic behavior. That does not advance the cause of Trayvon Martin or his memory. And so we are here to say that obviously at the request of the mayor and the police chief, we will do what we've done in other instances and initiate a citywide day of dialogue for those who wish to come forward and address these very fundamentally wrenching issues about racial justice and the use of gun violence in our country. That's the way that we deal with this. That's the way that we're prepared to address it in the appropriate way, and we trust that those who think otherwise will heed this voice of reason. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Supervisor. Also like to hear now from Councilmember Bernard Parks, who has experience not only as a representative of this area, but also as our former police chief.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I want to thank also the Chief of Police. Having watched this over most of the evening on television, I have to say that it's commend the police department for the humane way in which they're dealing with this. It's unfortunate that some people have decided to take the real focal point of a tragedy off of that tragedy and try to create their own tragedy in the city of Los Angeles. What we should be thinking about is the family of Mr. Martin and the loss of life, the tragedy of circumstance that can be nothing other than wondering if it was necessary, whether there's changes that need to occur, whether there's issues that we can learn from in this city. But our energies today and the last couple of days has been chasing a handful of people who choose to be disruptive and to not voluntarily comply with the law. And I think it's important that the message that the chief gave a few minutes ago for those parents who give the direction to their children tomorrow and the next day, that they have to be compliant with the law in the city of LA. They cannot destroy property. They cannot run through our stores. They cannot intimidate people. They cannot stand on people's cars. All the things that are visible images that are unacceptable in the city of Los Angeles. We've gone through in my tenure at least 2 major riots. Many of the areas that were burned and have never really recovered. And these are things that we don't want to experience as a city. We want to make sure that the
right now you are listening to City Councilman Bernard Parks, who, as you heard earlier, was the former police chief of Los Angeles. Supervisor Mark Ridley-Thomas spoke right before Bernard Parks. I just have to point out here that Supervisor Ridley-Thomas was Councilman Ridley-Thomas, and this was his district some 21 years ago when he invoked what happened after the verdicts in the Rodney King trial in terms of unlawfulness, rioting, burning, and looting, and said, we will not tolerate that this time. And you also heard Chief Beck say, don't let your kids come down to CRENSHAW tomorrow. Don't send them down to CRENSHAW tomorrow, because there will be no more protests of this kind. What started out as a peaceful rally ended in the actions of a few, making it really bad for the rest of the people who wanted to invoke the name of Trayvon Martin's family in a peaceful manner, and they mean business.
Yeah, 13 people arrested, 350 officers on the scene, and Chief Beck putting out a warning that tomorrow police are going to take a tougher approach, telling parents to keep their kids home.